In this video, I get to speak with Anatoly from Define Agile. Now, Anatoly is a YouTuber who's also making Jira related videos in this space, and I just had such a pleasure talking with him, learning about his origin story, how he got his channel started, and where he plans on going with his channel and with his business. Are you tired of struggling to present your data in a clear and visually compelling way within Jira? Look no further. Introducing custom charts for Jira by our good friends over at Old Street Solutions. They provide the ultimate solution for powerful and customizable data visualization within Jira. Old Street Solution is the official sponsor for our Thursday Atlassian community member interviews. Use the link in the description down below to start a free trial of custom charts for Jira today. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel, drop a like if you get value out of this video, and don't forget to check out all the links down below so you can subscribe not only to my channel, but also to his. Enjoy the interview. Hey everyone, welcome to another interview. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Anatoly, the founder of Define Agile. Now, I really like this interview because it's a chance to speak with another fellow YouTuber that also has a very similar passion and very similar interests. So without any further ado, we're going to jump into the interview. And Anatoly, why don't you introduce yourself real quickly and tell us a little bit more about you, and then we'll jump into the questions.
Sounds good. First of all, Alex, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm following your channel, I think since the beginning of your channel, I can say, since I found your amazing videos. And I really want to thank you for supporting so many people in their journey to Jira and to Agile. So you're doing great work, and I really love it. And for myself, yeah, my name is Anatoly. I've been in IT for the last 12 years. I've been doing Agile since I started, because every time I was coding, I realized, well, the coding is not the hardest part. The hardest part is to organize people around the tools and the processes so that they can deliver value efficiently. Because I've been in teams many times where people like doing stuff and nobody knows what people are doing. There's no coherent theme around it. And that's why I always wanted to work on the process. So that led me to do Agile with companies. I worked as a software developer, and then I realized, well, I might just go and do it more for companies. I opened a consultancy called Define Agile. I started just sharing questions that my clients would give me on YouTube channel, and I would just create videos about Agile and Jira. Then it grew, and now it's one of the biggest ones, thankfully, in the area. So I'm very happy about that. And we worked with governments and billion-dollar companies and small startups, and I really love to just bring value, raise awareness, and make the process better. That's about it. Any particular questions about my
Yeah,
journey? Happy.
no. So one in particular, right? Because, and I think I mentioned this to you when you and I had a chat a few weeks ago, which was like becoming a consultant, right? Like opening up your own firm. That is like, it just feels so scary, right? Because like the fear of like, how do I know if I'm gonna get clients? Like, how am I gonna feed my family? How do
Yeah,
I feed my employees? And so
yeah.
I wanna ask you two questions on that. One is like, what gave you like that edge, right? Like, what was that moment, that defining moment where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna commit to this. I'm gonna build my own consulting company, and I'm gonna go find clients. And how did you go about like over conquering your fear, if you had a fear, of getting
Yeah,
that
yeah.
first client? And then I'll ask the second question later.
I think it's like general question about entrepreneurial journey. I guess I do several other businesses apart from Define Agile, but I guess the part for me to being my own boss in this was from the pain. I find that opportunity always come from the pain. I used to work in a companies, and I would do my best to create structures and do everything, and then let's say they don't get funding, and then they would dissolve and they won't care about that,
Right. Just
or
the number, right?
um, yeah, or
Yeah.
somebody else would come and they would be like, well, now we're doing this waterfall method, this doesn't matter anymore, and then they would just destroy everything I built for like years. And I would say, I don't like that. I just wanted
Mm.
to have a control. I wanted people who hire me to be serious about it. So every client we look at, we do like a bunch of surveys to make sure they're very serious about that. It was definitely scary, but lucky for me, um, uh, I found it, like I quit the job, and for 4 months I didn't know what I want to do. And then I seen that the big telco company, I'm not going to name the name, but you guys check my LinkedIn, you'll find out they're searching for a consultant. And I was like, okay. So I applied for them, and I started as working for them, sort of part time, full time, but being in the office and having them as one client. And then once I did work for them, um, this opened doors because okay, you had this big telco client, and we did amazing job for them. They had like really hard times. There was like leadership changes, and they had teams. I think I managed at some point as Scrum Master because people kept leaving, like 6 or 7 teams. So I was like super Scrum Master, jumping around and doing
Right.
things, and so that gave me that opportunity, so I was lucky. But I still find that from YouTube channel, when I started, before I start my consultants YouTube channel started, and people would come to me and they would jump on a call, they would pay me for the call for me to help them. So that also gave me opportunity to say, okay, I still can reach out to those same people and see if I want to help them, which I did, and that's how I found the clients, more than one, I guess. That's how it sort of grown
Okay.
in my.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
so my next question was, right, so you've obviously grown this into quite the empire, right? Multiple businesses,
yeah,
multiple ventures, like, and so this again, I'm just foreshadowing a path in my future. But one of my biggest fears is like, how do you know when you have like enough cash flow to then say, okay, I'm ready to grow a team? Like, what was that thought process like? And did you have
yeah.
any
So
uncertainties there?
I do it differently. So I'll give you, I guess, advice, and for other people to give advice. I assemble teams based on the projects most of the time. So I'm building relationship. I think the most important is you have a team or don't have a team is to be relationship with people, and then make sure that you can leverage these people when the opportunity comes.
You put the chicken
Uh,
before the cart before the horse. Then you go get the work, and then you get the people.
yes,
Aha,
yes.
I see.
So,
Okay.
and I always know that I can do the work myself. So people hire me and nobody comes. I'm happy to go and do the work myself. But I also have network of amazing people I work with that I can reach out. Some of them start to me as people working like 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, 5 hours a month, and then slowly we build it up and we get more clients. We give them more opportunities. So I don't believe that you have to hire people and wait for clients to come.
Hmm.
I don't think that works. So
That's a really good perspective, and I'm really, really glad I asked it because I don't think I've ever would have thought about it
yeah,
from that perspective, right? Like I'm always thinking of just very much like your job, right? Where you're like you kind of just come and then you hope something comes up, right? And so very, very interesting perspective of like, hey, maybe put yourself out there, go get some feelers and see what bites, and then build a team around that.
yeah, and build relationships. I think the most important. I'm pretty sure you have enough people in your network that you can reach out and say, "Okay, John, we have this amazing client. Do you wanna give it a try?" And
Yeah.
then we create budgets and we get funding, and then we ask people to give us maybe a month for us to build a team. Right now, it's easier because I have team working on multiple projects, and they usually work part time on those projects. So then I can say, okay, do you want to more work with this? And then they just jump on the other project. When I started, I would do work myself, but if I need help, let's say I don't do Jira installations anymore that much, because I realized my superpower is like getting a big strategy and nailing down to a cohesive, getting a big vision and nailing down to cohesive strategy. And then I have people who work with me to help install Jira, and I guide them, but I don't do the work myself.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's really, really good perspectives. Again, I just wanted to ask very, very selfish questions because
Perfect.
I
Those
definitely
are the
see
best
myself
ones.
following in your footsteps there. So I figured might as well take advantage when you have Mr. B says that having like a mentor is like the ultimate cheat code, right? Like if you ever want to do something, you just got to talk to the person that's doing what you want to do. And that's like the ultimate way to get better
Beautiful.
faster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
All right. Well, I'll leave that alone. We'll probably have some follow-up conversations in the future, but let's
100%.
kind of keep it to the Atlassian ecosystem because after all, that's who's watching here. So, why don't you take me back through what's your first Atlassian memory? Like, what's the first time that you ever experienced Jira or Atlassian, and that you're like, wow, this is awesome.
So the first memory of Atlassian, I think as a developer, yeah, it started all. I remember I got this cool startup as a first job. I did internships before, but they liked my internship. They hired me right away as a developer, and then they're like, "Oh, we're using this tool that has a ticketing system." I'm like, "Ooh, ticketing system. That's interesting." And so I'll be honest, it was very confusing, but they had it on a wall first. They had like a Kanban wall with things, and then it was so annoying to go get those post-it notes because we were changing things all the time. It was like a startup. You rip it out, then you put it back in again. So then when they moved it to Jira, and to me, I was like, yeah, it's a little confusing, but at least I understand. So I started very, very simply, just creating tickets, and I recommend to all the clients I have, start as simple as you can. So we started just having a Kanban board with some issues, and actually, it's a good idea for somebody listening to visualize it first, maybe on your wall or something, to see how those swim lanes gonna go, what your process is, and then move it to Atlassian as well. So we did that, and to me, that was wow. We can just visualize what we have on a wall on a tool, and it was very rewarding.
Yeah, the first time I ever took like a to-do list and I wrote each one into a sticky and I put it on a wall and like a little board, I was like, why don't they teach this in school? Like,
Yes, yeah,
this is
that's the
something that
best.
everybody should know. Like a
100%.
Kanban board.
Yes,
That's
yes.
all right. So then fast forward, you stop being a developer. At some point you have this idea for this YouTube channel. At this point, I'm sure you've exposed to other technologies, other tools. Why go down the route of Atlassian then? Like out of everything else, like why focus
Yeah.
there?
Don't get me wrong. I say it on the channel all the time. I don't think that Jira per se is a perfect tool. It has a lot of issues. That's why we have two YouTube channels with lots of views for people learning how to use the tool. So it's definitely overcomplicated. But I find that it is one of the best ways to put frameworks into action very quickly. So let's say for Scrum, which is the most popular framework when new development teams start, Jira provides a very good interface to do all those pieces and really understand Scrum better. You understand what your sprint is, because sprint is like a weird concept for people understanding. Like we're working in some 2 weeks iteration. What does that mean? But then because Atlassian provides all those, so to say,
Like a
um,
foundation?
foundation for it, yeah, so you can easily explain it. So that's what we do in training. We train people Scrum, and then when we show them Jira, I see it all the time, like, okay, we know what it is, we know what the
Yeah, it just
backlog
it
is,
just
okay.
fits right in.
Yeah, so I haven't seen, there are some nice tools, but I haven't seen such a versatile tool and such a well targeted towards agile as Jira yet,
Yeah, the
I would
only
say.
other tool that ever comes to my mind, there's obviously a lot like version 1, Rally, and things like that, but those are super expensive. So the only like in that Atlassian sweet spot is like Azure DevOps. But
Yeah,
most folks that do that tend to be very Microsoft focused, right? And I
exactly.
feel
Yeah,
like with,
yeah.
with Jira, you're gonna get everybody else that's not in that Microsoft camp.
Yeah, I'm definitely not in a Microsoft camp. So as a
You either love
developer,
Microsoft, yeah, you either love them or you hate them. It's
yeah,
very you're very polarized with the Microsoft
yeah,
world. Okay.
yeah.
Um, next question. Biggest lesson you've learned since you started out. What is like the biggest tip here or biggest advice or the biggest like punch in the gut that life has thrown at you since you started this journey?
Uh, are we talking about Jira or are we talking about Agile?
Agile, I mean, just in your overall experience, right? Like just what's something that comes to mind, top of mind, where you're like, you know what, like
Usually, yeah, the biggest thing that most of the clients, and we work with maybe about 100 different firms in the big or small scale, is that it always come down from, issues usually come down from the top, and this is the hardest thing to explain to people because they hire you. So when somebody's hiring you and saying fix it, I find that there needs to be a very uncomfortable conversation when you need to bring it back to them, because there's always, if there's a problem, there's a lot of blame, and people don't see how they are affecting what's happening. So we would get hired all the time, and we would be like, oh, our developers have no idea what they're doing, they never meet deadlines. But then we figure out that there's no right direction, there's no
yeah,
vision. So that in agile world, to me, that's the biggest problem, that because we have those tools and frameworks, people who are on top of the chain, like VPs and CTOs, they're all expecting that the tool will fix the
a
problem.
problem, right?
And the big realization people should have is that Jira is just a tool. I have it all the time. You set up Jira and everything gonna be amazing. They have those dreams about how everything's gonna change. Jira is just a tool, and it surfaces the problem. So often when we set up Jira for people, let's say, then they don't want it. they try to resist it because they see, okay, they see the numbers, they see when things are coming from, they see that let's say
Yeah.
people ask questions to like managers, they don't reply, and that's why there's like a delays and all of this. Often, pretty often, I think about 20% of the time, we would set up Jira and we would follow up in a year. They would say, oh, it doesn't work for us. And then when we work with them, why? It always comes down to we don't want to show the numbers. The numbers are too in our face. So instead of facing
Oh,
them, because accountability is there, right? If you show that, well, in the end, it might not be the fault of the team, it's the fault of the process that we don't want to change, because then it's uncomfortable. We have to surface lots of things.
yeah,
That's all.
I can definitely relate to that. One of my very first jobs that I had when I started using Jira, I remember a conversation with my manager at the time. He was like, all the teams at this company need to use Jira. And we're like, okay, so we got everybody in Jira. And like 6 months later, he's like, all the metrics need to come out of Jira. And so I went to the team that I was working with, because we were kind of like loaned out to different teams. And so I went to that team and I was like, my boss says you got to use Jira and get the numbers out of Jira. And I
Yeah,
remember him just looking at me face to face. And he's like, Alex, if we use Jira to pull those numbers, we're all out of a job.
yeah,
Because like the
exactly.
reality is not what you want to see.
Yeah, but I think that's exactly what they need to see.
Right.
So
You got
there's
to
a
turn
lot
those
of
rocks
fear
over.
around it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and then same company but different team. I ended up working with the team where we're like, let's put everything in Jira because then we can uncover all the
yeah,
hidden truths and all the roadblocks and like all the
yeah,
like quote unquote drama. So it's like a gift and a curse, this tool.
yeah.
But
I
one of my biggest pet peeves is like people not being able to challenge up, right? Like I can't tell you
yeah,
how many times I've been in like these situations where we spool up a bunch of calories only because somebody understood some CTO or some executive say something, and then that spawned like thousands and thousands of different activities,
yeah, yeah,
and nobody knows what we're doing, and we're all kind of taking a shot in the dark, and all
yeah.
somebody needs to do is go, "Is this what you asked?" But nobody
Exactly.
has the guts to do it. So like that's like my biggest gripe there
Hundred
with
percent.
working with executives like that. Cool.
100%.
So obviously you deploy Jira to a lot of places, right? You kind of work with a lot of different companies. So what's like one of your favorite plugins that's like your go-to? Like it's got to be installed everywhere you go. Do you have one?
I mean, I think you reviewed it as well. Time tracker. I
Oh,
use time tracker.
our good friends over at Everett.
Yes, I use it all the time, and I guess they are all. There are a few of them that are really good. The one is Smart Charts that I'm looking at right now that allows you to create dashboards that are really amazing. So that one, I just had a call with them, and it blew my mind. I'm playing with it right now. It allows you to see all those agile metrics that Jira dashboard doesn't show you for some weird reason. You cannot pull
Yeah,
the data
Jira just is
in a ways that you should, but smart charts and time tracker are really really cool ones. And if you want some advanced ones, I reviewed one called advanced Kanban boards, I think it's called, or advanced agile boards. It allows you
Mhm.
to create like crazy Kanban boards where it shows you all the dependencies. It allows you to like change Kanban boards and create different dimensions. It was very very cool. So for advanced folks out there, check this out. But if you want to track time, which is not easy in Jira. I don't know why. Don't ask me why, but like analyzing Jira timing is pretty hard. So we use Time Tracker in my company right now as well to make invoices and for a whole bunch of stuff. So I really love the the plugin.
Yeah, no, it's a really good. Not to turn this whole episode into a round two of our reviews for them, but it's I really like the simplicity of it. I think out of everything because I've literally enabled every single time tracking plugin in the marketplace. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I just want to do like super simple, right? Like just get in, get out. Because most people of Jira, like most users of Jira are very reluctant to use the tool, right?
yeah,
Like I always want the tool to like not get in the way. And so
yeah.
anytime that there's a learning curve, no matter how little that learning curve, like it's gonna turn people off. So you literally got to make this thing so that like my mom can use it, and then people are gonna adopt it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not easy with Jira.
Yeah, no.
That's yeah.
So I feel like you're gonna have an answer to this next one just because of the way this conversation's been going. But if you can change one thing from like Atlassian and Jira, like what would it be? Like what's your biggest like gripe with them?
What's
That's
one what's one thing that you would like? You're like, this would make it a million times better.
We all know that Jira's dashboards are a little lackluster. Wouldn't it be cool if you could significantly make your metrics and reports better? With custom charts for Jira, you can transform your raw data into stunning charts and graphs that make an impact. No more settling for the default Jira reports or spending hours manually manipulating data in a spreadsheet. Go show our friends at Old Street Solutions the power of the internet and show them your support and start a free trial to custom charts for Jira today.
I really feel that workflows are overcomplicated. Like they're just way overcomplicated. And the way that you need to like save workflows and you can't publish a workflow, you need to create like a copy in a scheme and all those kind of things. I never understood it. There should be definitely workflows are very important, but nobody like we're going to like clients and clients and clients. Nobody wants to use them because they are overcomplicated, and then you need to create like post functions and they're in a separate place, and then you have
Right.
diagram view and then you have another view.
Oh my
Like
gosh, a text view. I can never use a text
yeah,
view.
you just
I
need
can
to
never
keep it
understand.
simple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I try to. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, go for it.
I was gonna say, try to explain to somebody, right? Issue types, issue type screen
Yeah,
scheme, screen
yeah,
schemes, and then they all got to go into the issue type screen scheme, which goes to the
yeah.
right. It's just like it's like
It's
a tongue
crazy.
twister almost. Very, very hard.
Yes, yeah.
Um,
I find it, and it doesn't has to be like 100%. It just it gives you too much customization that just people who are using it, like I mean, maybe some of them need it, so maybe you need to have advanced mode, like you have, let's say, iPhone and Android. If you want to configure your phone, which I don't, I'm happy with like know how to use it. So I would love to have the version, um, simple version. And
yeah,
another thing I just remembered, which annoys me a lot, is different types of projects, company managed versus team managed projects. And it
we
is
just need
really
one, right?
annoying because essentially it sounds fancy, but in reality it's just a team managed project will be just a slimmed down version where you, if you need to do something, you will never be able to do it, like create like multiple boards and move stuff between them. And I'm like, you need to let people know, because so many times we go to the clients and they like have those team managed projects where we're like, okay, we have to migrate everything now to company manage. And it's not like one button migration.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
no,
also pretty annoying.
I totally see that, man. I've been like, I work with a team where they had pure team managed, and they got through a merger. So we're like, cool, cloud to cloud migration.
Yeah.
Until it doesn't work with team managed projects. I'm like, great. I gotta
Yeah.
export everything, import everything, recreate
Yeah.
the workflows, recreate the fields, recreate everything. And it's just
Yeah.
like the biggest mess. I'm like, Atlassian, you're just gonna support it. You should support it all the way through, or don't support it at all.
And since we're talking about the last thing here, sorry, I'm taking all the time,
No,
but
no, no. This is
I,
this is your show today.
subtasks is another thing that makes me pretty crazy, because yeah, like how the estimates don't trickle up, and how like the mess of subtasks when you create too many of them, how like it doesn't, it's like it seems like it's pretty separate from the main story that subtask is part of. And there's like the way it's built is just so weird that I don't recommend anybody to use subtasks in Jira. And people like fight with me to the death on it. They're like, "We don't want to use subtasks." So, and I'm like, well, but then you have this one story that can last for 15 sprints because you're creating 150 subtasks behind it. So I don't know if it's Jira issue or a general workflow issue, but in any way, the way the subtasks are done,
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan. I just don't use them.
I feel like we'd be able to do an entire episode on just discussing subtasks because like Agile really promotes the subtask, right? Like the subtask is where the magic happens. If you look at, well, the task, really, if we're using the right definitions, right? The task is really where the magic happens in Agile, but it doesn't translate into Jira. Like
Yeah,
like Jira subtasks are very subpar. And yeah, so all my videos and all my recommendations though is like I'd rather you have like 50 smaller stories
yeah,
than like 50 subtasks to one story, because it's just gonna it's you're gonna be able to plan it into your sprint. You're gonna have all the right information at the right time and the right
yeah.
estimates. It's like Yeah, I feel you there. Now, I was having a conversation with the teammate this week about Atlassian's changing the way their hierarchy is going to work, right?
Yeah,
So that the epic link and epic name, all that's kind of going away, and everything's
yeah,
going to be like the subtask, where it's just parent and child. And
yeah,
my friend was like, she just tells me, I don't like that. I don't like that they're gonna do that because I already don't like the way stories and childs work, and now you're gonna
yeah,
move it upstream. And we're like, we'll see how it works then.
yeah. It's gonna be a mess again, but we're gonna adapt.
Yeah. So we only got a few minutes left here. So let me get through the last couple of questions that I have. I like to tell people that I have a DNA that or fingerprint, if you will, right? So I can go to any Jira in the world and I can check and see. I'm like, this has been a Jira that Alex has been in. Is there anything particular in like how you configure or deploy Jira that you're like, this is the way my company does it, or this is the way my team does it? Like something unique that you always do?
Uh, I mean, I tr- we try to keep very very simple. The thing is that the more you complicate it, the harder it is for you to find things out. So what we actually do, we come up and we start from the basic. So if we deploy Jira, it will be Jira. It's either Scrum or Kanban. We recommend, let's say, Scrum. It will be very simple. To do in progress done. We don't have any workflows, no permissions, nothing. Then we say, okay, here's your first sprint, work with it and give us, and let's have a retrospective later. We do it in
Mm.
true agile way, and let's figure out what you need more. So then they
Or less.
say we need, yeah, so then let's say our process like that, we want this, we're like, why? And then we go really deep to understand if this is really a desire of one person of a department, and we configure Jira in parts, assuming that it's a new installation. If we go to older installations, we also try to simplify it. So we actually take out much more than we bring in. Because as soon as you bring something in, people get used to it. It's very hard to take out. So we try not to use any plugins, anything. We just start from bare bones and go all the way up. So
And
that's
if
that's
and
our
if you see
approach.
a Jira with no subtasks, clearly you were there.
No, yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Last major big question, but what excites you the most about the future of Atlassian?
I mean, in general, I find that first of all, they are making progress and they're listening, and they're improving the tool. So there's always new things happening. I don't recommend them update UI so much because I have to update all my courses, and some of those UIs I'm not sure if they're better or not.
The
So
the epic link just changed on all the epics in Jira, by the way. They got
wow,
more squared, more boxer in all caps.
yeah,
So yeah,
it's
that
great.
UI changes every day.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I really appreciate that they listen. So sometimes we give them some feedback. They listen to the feedback. So it's great. And I find that they launch more and more tools now. They have Trello for people who like simpler. Confluence working pretty nicely with. I have my issues with Confluence too, but it works very nicely with Jira as well. So I find that they understand agile way. They understand how to adapt to changes, and they work in agile way. So I really feel that they're number one out there. So I'm
Yeah.
excited about seeing what they do.
That's been a very similar sentiment where everybody's like, Atlassian just like listens. I feel like they could listen a little bit more, but it's also hard,
Yeah,
right? Like you're running a company, they have 250,000 customers, uh millions and millions of users, right? Like you're gonna have all kinds of just snowflake answers, and it's hard to
for
please
sure.
everybody. You end up pleasing
Yeah,
nobody if you try to please everybody. And I do, but I just think like some decisions are a little too polarizing. Like it would be
yeah,
great to like really
yeah.
change a couple of things. like those
100%.
like those subtasks. Like they're those subtasks should at least show up on the backlog. Like I should be able to plan these into a sprint, like not
Yes.
just have them show up once
Yeah,
you're in an active sprint. It's crazy.
I'm
Um
with you.
super last question. What secret do you have for folks that are just wanting to get into this space, right? Obviously you have a channel where you're teaching, but and you have your own courses, but like is there like a motivational thing that you tell your students or your audience on your YouTube channel about like how to get smarter or better at Atlassian or Jira in general?
Well, the best way, and same about agile. So people are like, "Oh, I need to get this certificate, or I need to do this, do this." I think there's only one way. You just need to do it. Just do it for yourself. If you wanna, if you let somebody telling me recently, I was on a call. They were like, "Well, but I'm just in sales team, but I want to do Scrum." Well, organize your own day, do your own planning, start planning your days, start checking in with yourself. Like if there's nobody else and you just by themselves, you by yourself, you want to start, make it a habit. Create just to-do list or create a Kanban on your own board. Structure your work this way. Go to Jira, create your to-do list in Jira. You can do all of this yourself to familiarize with the tool and
Yeah.
then see what problems you have and solve it for yourself. I think the only way to do things is to do. There's no magic here, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I almost feel like you need to have an obsession for this stuff, right? Because yeah, I've taught hundreds and hundreds of students over the last few years, and it's just like they always ask me like, "Hey, I want to be the next Dr. Jira," which is what people call me. And I was like, "Well, just literally, I have 400 videos. Watch them all, and you'll be as good as me." Because
Exactly.
I literally everything that's up here is in YouTube, right?
Same.
So I'm like, if
Yeah.
you want to be as smart as the pros, like literally watch our stuff. But like nobody puts in the work. Like nobody puts in the
Yeah.
reps that you got to put in to really get to. Because I'm sure that like you, right, and me, like you probably obsess over this stuff and work countless hours to get better
Yeah.
and better every single day. So you got to obsess over it.
100%. 100%. I
Cool.
think you're doing a great job. I also want to be like Dr. Jiro when I grow up.
When you grow up. No, I'm trying to be like, we'll just swap spots. So,
Yeah.
anyways, so thank you very much, Anatoly. This was really, really beneficial. Just really one last question. Where can people find you? Let's tell people where, and then if you can email me any links or whatever, we'll include it in the description. But tell people where they can find what
Yeah.
you're on, what you're working on.
If my face is not familiar for you guys, you can go to YouTube and type Define Agile or go to youtube.com/@Define Agile and find my videos. And if you guys want to connect with me, there are usually every video we have like a link for the calendar. You can have a consulting with me. We can sit down and talk about your things. And if you're a big organization that want to transform your teams, you can also go to defineagile.com and schedule a call with us. And we work with all kinds of organizations from governments to small ones to big ones. So happy to support anybody who needs support.
Great, perfect. Thank you so much again for coming on. I look forward to, I think in a month or so we're gonna have a conversation, you and I. So
Yep.
looking forward to that part, and let's see how far along I
Beautiful.
can come along in that next
I,
4 or 6 weeks.
I'm rooting for you, man. You're going like a bullet train. So hopefully you'll surpass me very very quickly. So I'm really rooting for you. You're doing an amazing job. Thank you for
I
this.
got I don't know if you know Lamec. He runs the Moxie channel,
Uh-huh.
Portuguese.
Yep.
He's my next target. He's like, I'm going for him next.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm sure you'll surpass it.
All
Amazing.
right. Well, again, well, thank you very much. Thank you so much for the support. I really do. When you reached out, it was just like I was like, wow, I can't believe Anatoly is reaching out to me because I reached out to other YouTubers like Robbie, and he's like, no, I'm not talking to you. So
Really? Wow.
this was great that we can.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen Hamilton, the musical, but there's a line at the very very end because Aaron Burr kills Alexander Hamilton, and then
Uh-huh.
Aaron Burr has a realization at the end where he's like, this universe was big enough for the two of us. Like it didn't have to come
Yeah.
to one or the other. Like this is literally, this space is so big that multiple people in the space can survive and thrive in here. So
100%. Yeah.
really glad that we can have this friendship and relationship and just bring more content to the community.
Same man. Same man. Really appreciate you. And if you need any help, I'm here always. Happy to
Thank you.
help.
And that concludes my interview with Anatoly. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know we talked a little bit about business. I really do see Anatoly as a mentor and as somebody that is just where I want to be 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And so hopefully those questions, this conversation was engaging, and it kind of just shows you kind of the secret sauce behind what makes Anatoly so great. And hopefully I'm able to adapt some of that secret sauce, and maybe you can even take some of that to grow and scale your business. Take control of your data. Custom Charts for Jira offers an extensive range of chart types and customization options, whether it's a bar chart, pie chart, or line chart, or pretty much a bunch of other different types of charts that they have. Create stunning visuals that represent your data in Jira accurately, tailored specifically to your specific needs. Head on over to the Atlassian Marketplace and show Old Street Solutions the power of the internet and start a free trial of Custom Charts for Jira today. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you drop a like, and I'll see you in the next one.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want, and I always give it 100. Don't need